All right, hello and welcome to our next lab. This one's all about pointers and I guess a little bit about classes too. So first things first, always get the code. There's a few files, but I mean they're all in groups of 3. So like you're gonna do rotate 3, that's a program, and you're gonna do counter, that's another program. So the first program that you will write, not a whole lot of code this week, honestly, is you'll write a function that rotates 3 integers using pointers. Okay. So the declaration of this function, it's a one function library. It lives in rotate3.h, and you'll implement it in rotate3.cpp. And the idea is it comes with this function called rotate3, and you'll call it with the address of 3 ints, and after that function returns, you will have magically rotated them all to the right. So y holds what x used to hold, z holds what y used to hold, things like that. So they're going to the right, and let me just show you that very quickly. So here's rotate3.h, has a declaration of this function. Then you're going to implement that in rotate3.cpp with some helpful comments. One thing you will have to watch out for, because you'll be dereferencing pointers, is to make sure that none of the pointers are null. If any of those pointers are null, you can't do anything. Oops. So you should check, make sure A, B, and C are not null before you do anything at all. So that's rotate3, and I've written some tests for you, just one big function with a bunch of different little tests, and that is all you need to worry about for this little program. Just get these passing, you don't have to write any of your own for rotate3. So write that little function, get it working, and then you're good to move on. The next thing you'll do is you'll make a counter library. So it's essentially we're making that counter class that I like to use in class, and but we're not going to use classes, which is weird. So let's look at counter.h really quick. We're going to use a struct called counter to simulate a class that we might also call counter, and it will have some member functions associated with it: a constructor, an increment function, a reset function, and a getCount function. And the key thing here is every time we want to call a method on our counter object, we'll give a pointer to some object of the counter struct type. Okay? This is really what's happening under the hood in C++. There's really a first parameter, like a 0th parameter that you don't get to see, that's a pointer to your current object. And methods are really just functions. So I think this shouldn't be too bad once you understand what's going on, and the best place to understand what's going on is to read my tests. So here is like a function that tests the increment method in quotes. So I'm going to make a counter called C, that's a pointer to one, make it on the heap. And I'm going to call the constructor with C, the pointer, and I'm going to increment C. This is as if I had said C.inc, okay? That's what we're simulating, okay? And yeah, at the end of the day, the count that's stored inside of C should be 3, and that's that. And the rest of these are doing the same thing. This is like testing the constructor for counters. Once you call the constructor with the counter object, it's like C dot construct. That doesn't really exist though. And just making sure that it's setting the things properly. Okay, so you can just pretend that these are all real methods, like c.reset with the one parameter 42, but we're kind of rolling our own classes. All right. So once you get used to how these are being called, it shouldn't be too bad to implement this library, and you'll just implement everything in counter.cpp, all of these functions, and pretend that they are methods. Okay. So hopefully that's not too bad. And then finally, you'll make your own tests. So add 2 of your own, and that's all. So not too bad once you understand what needs to be done, and then you can turn in your code. So write the tests, submit your code, those 3 files. Of course, you need to include the test file so that I can run those tests on the autograder. And yeah, there's the rubric. Please yell at me if you have any questions. But yeah, just testing your knowledge of pointers this week. So I will see you in the next one.